July 14, 2025, Sana'a Central Prison, Yemen. In a shadowed cell, Nimisha Priya, 37, sits by the barred window, her hands trembling after 8 years of suffering. Accused of the brutal murder of her Yemeni business partner, she watched helplessly as her mother's desperate journey from Kerala with all her savings to offer blood money to the victim's family as compensation was sadly rejected. Even the Indian government's back-channel diplomatic talks to save her were failing. With only 2 days left for the executioner's noose, Nimisha's gaze lingered on the faded photograph of her daughter, whom she hadn't seen in a decade. 3 decades ago, 1990s, Kolangode village, Kerala's Palakkad district. Nimisha grew up in poverty, raised by her single mother Prema Kumari, who worked tirelessly as a domestic worker. As she grew up, it was the kindness of the local church that they supported her nursing education. But despite her hard work, she was denied work as a nurse in Kerala because you didn't clear your school exams. Yet, she was determined to support her family and escape poverty. So in her late teens, Nimisha left everything familiar for Yemen, starting her life as a nurse in a health center in the capital city Sana'a. She returned a couple of years later to marry Tommy Thomas, a hardworking driver. They came back to Yemen together and were delighted to give birth to a daughter, Mishal, in December 2012. With a family to support, Nimisha relentlessly worked long hours in private and government hospitals in Yemen, also sending every possible rupee back home to support her mother, still keeping her goal in mind.
One day, I'll open my own nursing home and give a great future to my daughter. She won't suffer what I had to go through.
But in 2014, Yemeni people erupted against fuel subsidy cuts, rampant corruption, and mass protests shook President Hadi's rule. The Houthi rebels rose against the establishment, civil war exploded, and fear gripped the capital. With money tight and chaos mounting, they made a heartbreaking choice. The husband left for India with their baby girl. Back in India, they started to raise funds for Nimisha's nursing home while she kept working hard in Yemen. However, for a foreigner like Nimisha, Yemeni law was unforgiving.
Madam, Habibi, you need a local partner to register business here.
And thus entered Talal Abdul Mehdi, a familiar face at a clinic, bringing hope.
You are such a good nurse, dear. I love India. I help you.
Nimisha placed her belief on the line, handing 6 lakh Yemeni riyals, over 1.7 lakh to Mehdi, plus giving additional money coming from her husband's fundraising in Kerala for permits and rent. The trust had been built up so much that both of them even attended a child's baptism in Kerala, staying there for a brief period. When the paperwork was filed, Mehdi got a majority 67% of the clinic as local law demanded, and Nimisha had no option but to accept it. When danger grew and Indians fled the civil war in Yemen in 2015, Nimisha still refused to abandon her hopes, choosing courage over safety. And she got the fruits of her hard work when the Al Aman Medical Clinic, a 14-bed facility, opened its doors in Sana'a. Little did she know that the partner she trusted, Talal Abdul Mehdi, was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Mehdi, who once seemed eager and full of promises, the rogue shitbag with majority stake, seized control of all clinic earnings, depriving Nimisha of her years of hard work. When Nimisha questioned, Mehdi snapped,
The whole clinic belongs to me now. You dare not challenge me.
The betrayal deepened as the psycho Mehdi showed forged marriage certificates and wedding photos to the clinic employees.
We are husband and wife. We got married in Kerala last year.
Becoming increasingly abusive physically and sexually, trapping her in a cycle of fear and humiliation. Make no mistake, Nimisha was brave and did go to the police many times to complain, and he was arrested for small periods several times, but was powerful enough to get released every time, returning each time even more dangerous. So barbaric was he that he took her passports and travel papers, locking them away, and poor Nimisha's world shrank to the four corners of the clinic and Mehdi's prison-like control. Isolating her further, the wicked Mehdi cut her off from calls from home and even drugged her.
Forget your home. You're mine forever.
For a couple of years, Nimisha suffered under his calculated web of abuse and terror. A wolf in sheep's clothing who destroyed every escape route she had, turning her clinic from a place of healing into her prison. But she survived. In late July 2017, fate finally offered Nimisha a way out when the tormentor Mehdi was jailed on fraud and drug offences in a different case. A desperate Nimisha reportedly pleaded with a jail warden.
Please help me get my passport. I want to go home.
who suggested a risky plan. If you can sedate Mehdi during a temporary release to your rented room. That's what happened. Next month, after getting bail, when Mehdi came to Nimisha's accommodation, she sedated him with ketamine, removed the keys from his pocket, and opened the locker that had a passport. Unfortunately, the ketamine dose was too high and Mehdi died from an overdose. The way out turned into a tragedy. Shocked and afraid, Nimisha turned to her friend, Nurse Hanan.
There is only one way out from this situation.
Perhaps not the ideal way, but the petrified nurses dismembered Mehdi's body and both hid the remains in an underground water tank, an act that would haunt Nimisha for years to come. With India's travel ban from Yemen and shifting of its embassy to nearby Djibouti, in August 2017, Nimisha tried to flee Yemen by the Saudi border, but the police caught her. By then, Mehdi's body parts in the tank were discovered and she was identified as a wanted woman and arrested. In 2018, Nimisha faced trial with the odds stacked against her as the proceedings were in Arabic and she had no interpreter and little legal support. And in 2020, a trial court in Sana'a sentenced her to death for murder. That was affirmed by the Supreme Judicial Council, rejecting her final appeal in November 2023. The court wrongfully held dismemberment of the body and hiding it in the water tank as calculated planning, not giving heed to Nimisha's exploitation or the fact that Mehdi was accidentally overdosed, as she was a nurse and would know what dose would sedate and what would kill. Closing every legal door except the possibility of blood money, a financial compensation in exchange for a pardon permitted under Yemen's Sharia law. Like the case of Abdul Rahim from Kerala, who was on death row in Saudi, but 34 crore rupees blood money will get him released in 2026. Since September 2020 itself, a Save Nimisha Priya International Action Council formed by non-resident Keralites started fundraising. Nimisha's mother also sold her only property in Kerala. Samuel Jerome Bhaskaran, an Indian-origin long-time Yemen resident since 1999, became the principal negotiator with the victim's family. They together offered $1 million, approximately 8.6 crore in blood money, to Mehdi's family, but the victim's brother refused. You killed him brutally. A reconciliation is impossible. We want a retribution, nothing else. But the bigger problem was that the Iran-backed Houthi rebels controlled the capital Sana'a and its jails, while the internationally recognized government is backed by Saudi Arabia, their regional rival. So India's embassy in Yemen that operates from nearby Djibouti could only negotiate with them and not with the Houthis, while their back-channel efforts to reach out to influential sheikhs, jail authorities and the public prosecutor's office in Sana'a all failed. And in December 2024, Yemen's non-Houthi president Rashad al-Alimi approved the death sentence, scheduling it for July 16, 2025. However, with 4 days left for the execution, salvation comes not from courts but from faith, as the 94-year-old Grand Mufti of India and prominent Sunni cleric Kantapuram A.B. Abu Bakr Musliar reportedly called on his longtime friend, Yemeni Sufi scholar Sheikh Habib Umar bin Hafiz. Hafiz has close ties with Kerala and has visited institutions run by Musliar multiple times, who got a member of Mehdi's family and a tribal ruler of Al-Wasab region to the negotiation table. Religion teaches mercy and compassion. And within a couple of days, the president changed his mind and put the execution on hold without any specific date. But the order came out in public only a day before, on July 15th, to prevent crowds from gathering at the prison for the execution. While Nimisha's accomplice, Nurse Hanan, was sentenced for life, Nimisha lingers in Sana'a's prison, where the nurse heals sick inmates. Her mother refuses to leave Yemen's war zone, praying for compassion. Her daughter, just 13, studies in a Kerala convent, waiting for news on her mother. Kerala is India's nurse factory, where 1 out of 4 nurses leave for the Gulf, propelled by dreams and risks, as Nimisha once went when Yemen seemed safe. Today, Nimisha's freedom and dreams remains just out of reach,